What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Fargo, Season 5, Episode 9, The Useless Hand. Kind of feel bad for the useless hand. Because, again, Gator has gotten just a little bit of sympathy in that one episode where we learned about his childhood. But other than that, he's been such an annoying, cocky, arrogant little prick from beginning to now. But then in this episode, once again, they somehow managed to take that character, give him a little bit of sympathy. First you've got Munch just torturing him, basically, and of course we finally see him break down a little bit and lose that cockiness, which kind of makes you feel bad for the kid, if I'm being honest. And then after Munch brings him to his dad just says, You're done. I don't need you anymore. That kind of sucks. I don't know how they did it, but that is probably the performance, honestly, because the guy playing Gator, that switch is so drastic and so effective that I feel like it brings that sympathy out of you a little bit. Because you've got all those scenes. He's so good at playing that. Just I'm so good. I'm so good at what I'm doing. You're nothing to me. You're nothing to me. He's so good at that it makes you hate him. But now we see the vulnerability. He brings that out in this performance, and he's very good at that too. To the point where the switch is so drastic, it kind of yanks that sympathy out of you and makes you go, "Aw, poor kid." He's just trying to make his dad proud in the end, is what it boils down to. Yeah, he's being, again, a prick about it, but that's what he's trying to do, and in the end, his dad just throws him away like he's pointless. And yeah, it really sucks for him. And so I do have to say, I don't know if we'll see Gator in this last episode. I'm assuming we will. But yeah, his dad just leaving him out in the middle of nowhere. If that's the last we see of him, then damn, poor Gator. Everything else in this episode, though, was a lot of good build-up for the finale. You got the FBI showing up to be ready to take on Roy and his whole army that he's got coming to help him. I am going to be curious to see if anybody actually shows up, because he claims that there's a lot of people that are going to come follow him. But in the end, maybe his whole persona that he puts on, maybe all of this, he thinks that there's a lot more people following him than there actually are. And so in that moment, whenever he's like, all right, call to arms, let's do it, it might be where not really many of that people show up, because a lot of those people were all talk but no action. So, because that's the thing, most of the people online are that way. They're all talk, no action. You get them out from behind their keyboard or behind their phone, and they don't really do much of anything. And so if he's sitting there, he's getting all this reaction online, like, oh yeah, go you, we're gonna help you, we're gonna do this. There's a good chance that a lot of those people, they're not actually going to be worth anything. They're not going to do anything about it, because they're like, you know what, that's too hard to go over there, have to pick up a gun and actually shoot at people. That's too much. That might be what they're going to do with it, but I don't know for sure. But again, it's a pretty fun setup, though, just seeing him trying to track down Dorothy on his property. Meanwhile, he's also trying to hold the FBI off because they're trying to go in and execute their warrant. So it's kind of a fun balancing act that we're seeing on his side. And again, it shows as he's losing control, he starts lashing out a bit more. He starts making a bit more rash decisions. I will say I don't know what that one scene was. He went to the building right before Munch showed up and goes inside. There was a body, and all of a sudden there was like a face that appeared. I couldn't really tell whose face it was. It looked kind of like Munch's, but it was a little too faded for me to tell. And then he turns on the lights and goes, just in case. I don't really know what that was about. I don't know if I missed something or if I've forgotten something from early on, but yeah, it seems sort of random to me. But again, I'm enjoying seeing this sort of downfall of Roy, because they've done such a good job of making me hate him to this point. So now it's like, well, he's starting to get his comeuppance, and I'm having a great time with it. The stuff with Lorraine, I do kind of wish that maybe she had some... I did like her line when she said, no daughter of mine is going to trip on the 1 yard line. And even Dorothy's reaction, it was just perfect. I do kind of wish she had told her the truth, though. I don't mind her trying to play it off. Oh, this one made me, blah blah blah. Try not to get real for a moment, but I do kind of wish she had sort of said, I've been where you've been. I know what you've been through, and you're just trying to make a stand for yourself, and I can't fault you for that, or something like that. But again, the no daughter of mine is going to trip on the 1 yard line. That line in and of itself was solid enough for me to be okay with the fact that she didn't own up and say, here's why. So it really, really good character that I wasn't really sure about early on. With Lorraine, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with her. I wasn't sure how her character was going to develop or change throughout the season. I really like what they've done with her, if I'm being honest. Because she did seem sort of like just an annoying, pretentious piece of crap. But now she's come around, and I think we're seeing what, I guess, the good side of her whenever, obviously, it's got to be something that she, I guess, believes in, or something that she stands for her to actually do anything. But at the same time, it's still nice to see that side of her, because we haven't seen much of it most of the season. Stuff with Dorothy, just again showing some of her ingenuity, her willingness to fight no matter the circumstances. Saw a little bit of that last episode, and here it just again continues to grow. Those moments, those quick little decisions. Ultimately, there is that one final scene where she needs Munch's help to survive. That scene, I do kind of wish she had managed to find a clever way to get out of it. I honestly thought she was about to hide up under the bodies, which would have been disgusting, but I thought would have been kind of a, damn, she's really willing to do anything. But I guess at some point, as much as she's been running, as much as she has been getting away from the situation and fighting back, I think at some point you do have to realize that there's a limitation to what she can do. And ultimately, this was the best plan that she had, was just hiding out. And unfortunately, Roy was just smart enough to send some guys to go check it out. Unfortunately, he didn't count on Munch. And that's one of those moments of convenience that I think sometimes you do need to help out characters or help get the plot moving in a correct direction. So I don't have too much of a problem with it, even though it was a little convenient. And on top of that, I do like the fact that Munch kind of got to redeem himself after he was the one that sort of kicked all of it off after he went after Dorothy to begin with. So I don't know. It was a nice moment. It was almost like a moment of recognition of her and just him saying, hey, well played. You fought so hard. You've done all this. Let me give you a little bit of help on my own. And then he fades into the background, and I don't think we'll see him for the rest of the season. I think his story is probably done right there. I think that's a good ending for him. The other thing that I will say, just going into the final episode, that I'm a little worried about, they made such a point of what's his name? Wit. They made such a point of him turning to his little tactical team that he has and saying, hey, look, she's going to fight back. She's not one to go down without fighting. So if she does, do not shoot her. And the guy, they really focused in on him. He's like, right, no shooting the hostage. Let's do it. I don't know why they did that. And it's a little concerning because I'm like, you made such a point of focusing on it that I'm worried that it's going to happen. I don't know. There's that part of me, there's this pit in my stomach. Because even, the moment when they pulled the grave off and pointed the guns at her and her, Wayne and Scotty flashed before her eyes. In that moment, there was a pit in my stomach. Because honestly, I want to see her survive. And that's not really something I could say that Fargo has done before, is giving me a character that I really want to see make it through it all. I really want to see them survive. There have been a few, but I would say Dorothy is probably the first one that feels like she's in constant danger and is constantly trying to outwit and evade people. She's the first character like that I've wanted to see survive. Lester, you kind of had a feeling of, okay, let's see what's coming to him. He's fighting hard. He's doing the best he can, but he's gonna get what's coming to him. Ed and Peggy, same thing. They're gonna get what's coming to him. With Ennis, you kind of got a feeling he's gonna get what's coming to him. With Dorothy, she has done some shady stuff. She has hurt a few people in the process. She has lied and fought and run away from the FBI and the cops and all of that. I don't want to see her get any comeuppance, though. I feel like she's been fighting to survive, and I want to see her get the chance to survive and go back to her family. Like, they've done such a good job of getting me feeling that way. So now I'm very concerned going into the final episode that that's not going to happen, but we'll see. So, all that being said, time to finish up the season. I'll see you guys there in a sec. And now, episode 10, Bisquik. So this episode was great into the season, and then it just kept going. And yeah, that whole final scene with Munch, now going by Munk, everything to do with that scene with him. I started off very intense, and there was a sense of, oh no, what's gonna happen? But after about 5 minutes of it, I was done. It's like, okay, can we just get on to the end now, please? I mean, it took so long. And, I mean, guess a nice message, you know, talking about his past. And again, don't really understand how he survived all those years. He said, I guess, because he ate the sins or whatever of the rich people, and then that kept him alive for some reason. And then he takes a bite of something that's not full of sin, it's made with love and joy, and he's happy. And I'm like, okay, that's all this was leading to. I don't know. It just, at first it seemed like it was okay, well, he still has this feeling of, you beat me, and you cut off my ear, or part of my ear, and so because of that, you owe me a debt. And that seemed to be where it was heading, but then we kind of took a detour, and then we got back to that, and then we took another detour, and we got back to that, and it felt very weird and unfocused. There were a couple funny moments. You know, every time Wayne interrupted him as he was speaking, it was kind of funny because he clearly didn't know what to do, because he has this whole speech in his mind and he's ready to say it, and Wayne just keeps coming in like, oh, here, I got you a soda. It's just, that was funny, but it went on for so long. By the end of it, I was done. It sucks because that's the end of it, and so I'm left with this feeling of frustration and sitting here going, what did I just watch? Why did we sit for that long watching all of this? And it really is one of those, it's how you come to the end of it. Like, if the show had ended right after the scene with Lorraine going to see Roy, I don't know why his name went away for a second, Roy in the prison, and give him that whole speech, if that was the final episode, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been raving about this season, all of that. But because it ended on that weird, overextended, overdrawn scene with Monk, I'm sitting here going, oh my god, what? Why? And it's frustrating to end on that feeling of frustration, you know? So, putting all of that aside, though, that was definitely the worst part of the season. And to be fair, Munch was probably the weakest part of this season. There were some good moments with him, but there were a lot of moments, in that final scene is one of the examples where he just didn't quite work at times. It felt like his character didn't quite fit in with the rest of the season. It felt weird. It felt out of place. It was a little too weird for me. But everything else was really good. Everything with the finale with Roy and him getting arrested, all of that, it was all really well done. Heartbreaking end for Whit, and I hate the fact that out of all of them, you know, he was the one. Granted, I don't know. I guess if any of them had died, it would have been sad no matter who was. I mean, any of the good guys. But yeah, it's one of those things that I am kind of tired of characters who have a character at gunpoint and like, all right, I've got you. Okay, all right, you're surrendering. All right, well, now I'm going to relax. Even though you haven't physically gotten rid of your knife yet, even though you're not physically in my custody with your hands behind your back and all, even though there's no help around, I'm going to go ahead and relax because I'm sure you're not going to jump at me and attack me, right? It happens way too often. Yeah, I'd much prefer that you have some chance thing that happens that maybe distracts Whit for a second. Anything along those lines. Not a sense of, all right, he's putting his knife down. He's not fully down yet, but I'm going to go and relax because we're good here. I won the day. He's not even fully down on the ground yet. But guys, I won the day. Oh God, why am I stabbed? It's just kind of frustrating when shows do stuff like that because, I mean, granted, Roy is obviously very capable. We've seen him be very capable in other situations. Although, to be fair, it really wasn't outside of the one scene with I think his name was Joshua, that was beating his wife, and he managed to, even though the guy had the gun in his hand, he still managed to outdraw him and kill him. That was the only scene where it really felt like we got to see just how strong Roy was. But I don't know, it makes Wit look a little weak and kind of stupid whenever you have that moment where he relaxes his guard even though he's not fully incapacitated yet. So, but yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun moments. Dorothy showing up and shooting Roy in the gut was a great moment. I will say, I was kind of hoping there would be more of a reconciliation from, I think it was Karen was the new wife, because you have that moment in the last episode where she held Dorothy at gunpoint and Dorothy smacked the crap out of her with the gun, but then in this one she sees Roy kill her dad, so she's running away from him and then runs past Dorothy, who shoots him. And it never really felt like there was a thank you moment or anything like that. In fact, whenever the FBI was arresting her, it looked like she was glaring at Dorothy, like, what did you do? You just saw him kill your dad, and you're really gonna glare at her like that? That to me, it seemed kind of silly. It seemed a little, I guess they wanted to not give Karen her redemption story, so they just decided to make her a bitch all the way to the end. And that, for me, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little too simple, a little too easy. But the stuff with Lorraine, I thought was really, really good. You know, that moment whenever Dorothy comes up and hugs her. I did like the fact that she still, even though she respects Dorothy and she does respect what she went through and feels bad for her and does want to be there for her as a mother figure now, despite that, she's still not the most touchy-feely person. So I like the fact that Dorothy coming up and giving her a big hug, she's like, okay, yeah, so this is what people do, and now we're done. Can we let go now? I don't like this. It's one of those, it stays true to her character while still giving her character a moment of, not necessarily a redemption. She already had a bit of redemption earlier, but it gives her that nice, we see the character growth, but she's still the same character. She's not completely changed. And I like that. I like whenever shows can do that while remaining true to the characters they've written. But that final scene, though, with her and Roy in the prison, I thought it was great. It's one of those moments where you see Roy, he's still clearly feeling like he's in control. He's not dead, so he thinks as long as he's alive, he has a chance. It was just nice to see Lorraine come in, and even though she'd already done quite a bit, she's the one that made the call, got the FBI in there, and got them to arrest him. It still kind of felt like it was them doing all the work while she was sort of watching them go do stuff for her. This was very much her, this is payback for what happened to Danish. You know, this is your punishment where we're going to essentially make sure that you get to feel everything that you put your wives through. And yeah, I think it's a fitting punishment. I think, honestly, any man that does that to a woman, especially a woman that he's supposed to be in love with and married to, any man that does that, yeah, I wouldn't mind if they got something along those lines, because it's pathetic is what it is. And it makes you look weaker whenever you do that, because if you really feel like you have to beat up on a woman to make her comply or anything, I mean, that's pathetic. So I'm really glad that they gave him a nice comeuppance, and again, I'm glad that Lorraine got to be the one to sort of step in. I do kind of wish we'd maybe gotten a little bit more about her, because it feels like, I mean, her husband's not that type of guy. He's very much, he's not the one that wears the pants of the family at all. He's very much just kind of on the side doing his own little thing while she's running all this stuff. Do we confirm that was her only marriage? Because if so, it does make me wonder, maybe her dad was abusive to her mom or something like, because it seemed like she takes abuse very seriously. So I just wonder, did she have an instance where it happened to her in the past, either with a past husband or a past boyfriend, or was it her dad maybe that she saw abusing her and her mom? I don't know if we ever truly got that answer as to why that seems to affect her more and why she was so like clearly ready to do something about. I know, again, obviously I understand the whole idea of she clearly respects strong women and wants to. I mean, she's very clearly a feminist, but I'm wondering if there was something that made it a little bit more personal for her, because it really did feel like she took all of that very personally and she was willing to do something about it. So I, if I missed that, then somebody will have to tell me about that in the comments. But it did certainly feel like she had her own personal experiences that made it that extra little. I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna make sure he pays for it as well. So, but yeah, great season overall. Great finale up until that final bit with Monk. But I think it was a very strong season. I don't think it was my favorite. I think I'd put it just above 3 and 4. I think 4 is, I don't want to say the worst because it has a negative connotation. I still enjoyed 4, but it was the weakest. 3 I think was above it, and I put 5 just above 3, and then probably 2 and then 1 more than likely would be my ranking of the seasons, because there's just something there's something I guess better about following Dorothy in this season than there was the whole Stussy brother thing that happened in season 3. That one I didn't really connect to as much. I still thought it was well written. I thought it was fun, but yeah, it wasn't quite as strong as seeing Dorothy's predicament and everything she was going through and how it all sort of connected and all of that. So yeah, overall very strong season, very very well done. I think the acting this season was really good, from pretty much everybody. Honestly, I don't think anybody missed. Gator, I didn't even talk about his moments in this episode, but he's the one that turns his dad in. He manages to make his way through the tunnel and then gets the FBI to cover that, knowing that that's probably where he's gonna pop out from. And then that final moment with him and Dorothy, I thought was really sweet. And again, it shows a lot of his persona this season, a lot of that overconfident, cocky prick that we saw. A lot of that was he's trying to impress his dad. He's trying to be like his dad. And because he doesn't have the same strength as his dad and the same charisma as his dad, it comes off as, again, kind of like a little prick. But in the moments where we finally get to see him get shown up and be vulnerable, we get to see just who he really is. He's kind of a pathetic little kid who's just wanting daddy's attention. And that's kind of it. And so it's kind of sad to see him in those moments. It's kind of, you feel a bit of sympathy for what a pathetic little being he is. And I think the guy playing him portrayed that perfectly. I think it added an extra element to his character that I don't think you would have had if he had just stayed an annoying little prick all the way to the end of the season. I think that made him a better character to have those moments. And I thought the reconciliation between him and Dorothy at the end was a really nice touch. And it helped grow his character outside of that, again, little prick that we saw throughout the season. So, but yeah, Wayne was fantastic. Sorry. Oh gosh. Wayne was fantastic. Dorothy was also amazing. I mean, Juno Temple was pitch perfect this season, in my opinion. I thought Lorraine was wonderful as well. Again, her character arc was really well thought out, and it's so funny, especially because I did see one trailer before I came into this season, and then the first few episodes, I really did think she was going to be much more of a villain, a much more of an antagonist throughout the season. So it was really interesting to see her to turn and to see that Dorothy is just trying to fight off this abuser, and for her to step up and say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to help you with that. It was a great moment, and seeing her accept her as a daughter at the end of it was also really sweet. A couple of the guys that I thought took big steps up, in my opinion, I thought Wit was just kind of there's the guy that got caught up in the situation and didn't really know what he was doing there, but ultimately just wanted to try to help. I thought he had a lot of great scenes near the end. Again, probably the most heartbreaking death of the entire season, in my opinion. I thought Indira, really really nice for her to see her basically get out of the frustrating weak man relationship that she was in. I do wish we could have seen that she had found somebody that supported her a bit more, or even just somebody that like they supported each other in a way. I feel like that would have been nice. I guess on the one hand they were trying to do the whole she doesn't need another person to support her, she can support herself type of thing, but especially from an emotional point of view, there is something to be said about finding that person that you can work together to support each other and how important that can be. I thought it would have been nice to see that she had found somebody like that. But I'm fine with her also just becoming a powerful security person working for Lorraine as well. That was fine for her character. Danish, I thought was another character that just started off similar to Lorraine, was working against Dorothy and everything she was trying to do. Kind of seemed like a little weasel just working as he's the lawyer, so he's the one that has all of the plot, or not plot holes, loopholes that you can find. And anytime somebody came at him with some information, it was always, oh well, allegedly. There were so many moments like that, and I don't know, he didn't seem like he was going to be that fun of a character, but ultimately they ended up doing a lot of interesting stuff with him later on. And that final episode with him getting all these guys to change their name to Roy Tillman, and then of course going in and basically threatening Roy and being like, hey, here's the deal, here's what we're going to do, and if you don't do it, well, then we're going to come at you harder. And of course it just made his death a little bit more sad as well. But, and I mean, outside of that, some of the other side characters, again, Munch was not the most interesting. The FBI agents were fun for the moments that we had them, but not anything too special. The old woman that Munch was staying with, she was just sort of there. I did like some of her reactions though, seeing him and her whole "What do you want?" pancakes. There were some good moments with her, but yeah, I think that's about everything though. And all in all, this was a very solid season. So I really hope we do get a season 6, because I would love to see more of these stories and more of these intricate woven plots that really, the way that they set up these, again, imaginary chessboards with all these different pieces moving from different players in the game, it's really fun. And I'm always looking forward to seeing what they can do with that concept and what other stories, I guess, we can see out of that. So with all that being said, though, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these final 2 episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future, hopefully, Fargo reviews. I'll see you guys whenever it happens. Peace out.